Cartoon Network was one of my favorite childhood channels. I would always wake up early to watch the incredible shows they had on, like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Chowder, Camp Lazlo, and my gym partner's a monkey, not to mention Ben 10. These shows weren't just fleeting cartoons, they were experiences rich with creativity, full of unique characters and imagination, and each one left its own unforgettable mark. Cartoon Network was known for its unique and bold style in animation. It focused on creativity and innovation, and it offered a variety of artistic styles, from simple and colorful drawings to more complex designs. It also loved experimenting with unconventional stories and one-of-a-kind characters, which made its work special and loved by all ages. But today, artistically speaking, the channel is pretty much dead. The new cartoons they've produced have been really bad, and the channel itself has even admitted that its recent programs aren't up to par. They tried to fix the situation by making new seasons of old shows, like Teen Titans Go, and The Amazing World of Gumball. I'm not against the idea of bringing back old shows, it's always a guaranteed success. But the real question is, when will they start making a new cartoon with the same quality and creativity they used to offer in the past? Shows like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Dexter's Laboratory, and Samurai Jack had a huge impact and created a real buzz in the world of cartoons. The problem is that today, the channel relies on the old stuff because it's the easiest and most guaranteed path to success, but only a few of the new shows actually succeed. It's hard to see a channel like Cartoon Network returning to its creativity of the early days and offering new, unique, and appealing animated works. I also want you to understand me correctly. I don't have a problem with creating new seasons for old cartoons. I'm not against the idea of producing a new season for Gumball, and I'm not against the 10th season of Teen Titans Go. Making new seasons for old comedy shows is not a problem at all. My real problem is the lack of a new cartoon that has the same creativity and quality that the old cartoons had. Currently, what I object to is the low-quality reproduction of shows. I remember the 2016 reboot of the Powerpuff Girls, which was so bad. Recently, rumors have been going around that Cartoon Network wants to reboot or create a new series for Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and that shows like Chowder and the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack might also be rebooted or get new series. I'm not against this idea. You can reboot an old show, or build a new series for it, or even make extra seasons, but what I object to is rebooting these shows in a bad way, as happened with the Powerpuff Girls. I still feel disappointed by that experience, and I'm afraid the same problem will happen with Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Will it be rebooted correctly? I don't think so, especially if the original writing team isn't working on the new production or the new seasons, and I don't think that's even possible to begin with. Here, some people might tell me that this issue isn't exclusive to Cartoon Network. It's a general problem that all animation studios are suffering from. They'll say that no one is able to make cartoons that create the same buzz as the old ones, but my response to that is simple. That's not true. Not all companies are suffering from this problem. On the contrary, a large number of companies are still making unique and successful cartoons and are still able to deliver new ideas that leave an impression on viewers. In fact, some companies are currently working hard to create really strong shows, like Nickelodeon, which still maintains a level of creativity and offers entertaining works. Nickelodeon is even currently planning to make a final story for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the story where 3 of the turtles die and Michelangelo is left alone, seeking revenge for his brothers, with a new generation of Ninja Turtles being set up to appear. And let's not forget that Nickelodeon also announced plans to create a new Avatar series, which is a huge and exciting project in itself. The company has a lot of plans, but it only faces a problem with the slow execution. Nevertheless, it's still trying. Besides Nickelodeon, there are other animation companies that are still making strong, new works that are achieving widespread success and proving that creativity isn't over yet in the world of cartoons. Right now, in my opinion, there are only 2 companies that are clearly really bad at making cartoons: Disney and Cartoon Network. For me, Disney has been pretty much over since 2019. It's true that it has huge investments in amusement parks, and it has Marvel, and it has 1,000 other projects, but in the cartoon world, it's not as strong anymore, and frankly, I'm not that interested in it anymore. Let's focus on our main topic, Cartoon Network. This is a huge company with a global reach in several different languages, which gives it enormous potential. It should be able to plan and make successful cartoons just like it did in the past. I don't think it's that difficult. Why don't they make a new show that combines fun and comedy, just like their old works that made up our childhoods? But instead, we see them producing weak storylines or pointless cartoons, or even new seasons of old, half-dead shows. The worst part is that they keep making lame shows like Apple and Onion. Honestly, it's so strange that a company of this size and legacy can't produce a single thing with the quality of its old works, which they made more than 10 years ago. And we have to be realistic, over the last 5 years, Cartoon Network hasn't been able to deliver a single good cartoon. On the other hand, we see other companies still making excellent works, and we've even started to see independent cartoons being produced by content creators on YouTube or even Twitter, and some of them have better characters and ideas than what Cartoon Network itself is offering. This is completely illogical. How can an independent content creator, working with limited resources, create a high-quality cartoon, while a giant company like Cartoon Network can't produce 1% of that? I don't know what the problem is inside Cartoon Network today. Were the old writers who made the channel's glory days fired? And if they're still around, why aren't they being hired to make new shows with the quality of past works? Why don't we see stories similar to Dexter's Laboratory, or works on the level of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, or even a massive show like Ben 10? It's truly sad that a channel with the size and capabilities of Cartoon Network, which was famous for inventing stories and characters, can no longer deliver a single work that leaves a mark. All we see today is a focus on additional seasons of old shows, like Gumball or Teen Titans Go, which has reached its 10th season for its sarcastic, comedic version. Yes, that cartoon was a legendary success, but shouldn't the channel also be giving us a new and unique show to build on that success? Yes, I honestly can't believe this is the same channel I used to wake up early in the morning for to watch my favorite show, Lazy Town. I can't believe this is the same channel that made my favorite series, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. I can't believe it's the same channel that created Ben 10 itself. This is the channel I was addicted to as a kid, and today it can't even invent a new cartoon that can compete with its old works. It's no longer able to produce a new series on the same level as its previous ones, and even when it tries to reboot one of its old shows, the result is always bad. I'll be honest with you, if Cartoon Network tries to reboot Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, or Chowder, or The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack, it will do so in a bad way. I've watched the reboot attempts the channel has made, and almost all of them turn into a silly comedic version, just like what happened with Teen Titans Go, which became a goofy version that relies on cheap comedy and silly exaggerations, and sometimes even low-quality sexual comedy. Even when Ben 10 was rebooted, the result was so weak, and now with the news about a new series being created for it, I unfortunately expect it to be just as bad. I honestly want Cartoon Network to go back to producing new cartoons that carry the same spirit of its old works. Why don't we see a new cartoon today that's like The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack or Courage the Cowardly Dog? The art style back then was so unique, full of dark comedy and a weird touch that made the characters unforgettable. Even if some of the stories were simple, the great art style and excellent characters made those works special and one of a kind. And I hope we see a deep cartoon with weird stories like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. That cartoon was truly different, every character was strange and unique, and each one had a touching story about a friend who abandoned them. These creative ideas are what we're missing today. I also want to see a legendary sci-fi cartoon with high-quality animation like Ben 10. That work wasn't just a cartoon for kids, it was full of creativity, exciting events, and stories that stick in your memory. Even on the level of morning shows, why don't we see a new work like Lazy Town? Or even a new season of it with new actors? For example, they could introduce an idea about a new hero. Maybe instead of hero number 10, they can make a hero number 11, and continue building a completely new series. This is an excellent idea, and if they execute it with high quality, it will definitely succeed. The problem isn't a lack of ideas, it's that Cartoon Network today no longer tries to innovate or be creative. All we see is the recycling of old ideas or the production of pointless works, even though they have the ability to make something great if they wanted to. But the real problem I see today is that Cartoon Network doesn't even try to make something new or special. All it offers now are animated shows with a really bad, weak, and simple drawing style that lacks any visual creativity. As for the content itself, it either relies on silly comedy, repeated childish jokes, or even low-quality sexual comedy. It's as if they're saying, why should we make something new when we can make money with bad work? Even their future plans don't give me any hope. Yes, there's talk of rebooting more than one series, but I'm not excited about it at all, because I already know what will happen. They will reboot them with poor quality, a really bad drawing style, and cheap animation that doesn't live up to the past, without any attempt to invent a real story. All they'll focus on is some repeated comedic scenes, nothing more. And honestly, I don't expect that in the next 5 or even 10 years, Cartoon Network will make a single high-quality new cartoon or offer something that even comes close to the level of its old works. It's a shame to see big, long-standing companies that can no longer produce new shows that compete with their old works. And for me, the company that will never be able to return to its former glory is Cartoon Network. Some might say, no, Cartoon Network will come back, and the proof is that they're making a new season of Gumball. But honestly, Gumball isn't even the best show the channel has ever offered, nor is it even in its top 10. In the end, it's just a comedy show about a character who goes to school with a group of friends and a weird family. I don't deny that it's entertaining, but the channel has the ability to produce stories hundreds of times better than that, and yet, it doesn't seem like they want to. That's why I don't think Cartoon Network will ever return to its old level. And here I come to the end of my opinion. Thank you for listening, and I'm sorry if I went on for too long. I just wanted to share my honest point of view about Cartoon Network's current level, and my nostalgia for its glory days, which seems so far